All right, so you probably clicked on this video because you are not very good at deck building and you wanted to come to me, one of the best deck builders in the Dragon Ball Super card game.
You serious?
Just kidding, but there's a new set coming up, and I wanted to give out 6 different tips that actually made me a better deck builder, and hopefully it can do the same for you. But before I start, please go ahead and like the video, subscribe if you are new, and of course these tips can probably help you in any card game. This is just specific to DBS. The first thing I would like to talk about is just having a goal or something in mind before deck building. It doesn't matter what deck it is. It could be Dark Broly, who just wants to play 30Ks. It could be Soul Striker in the skillless engine. It could be King Vegeta and playing like a lot of Saiyan cards with Burning Life. Just have an idea in your head before you start playing or start building at all. Then you can kind of build your idea and the support, everything around that. And it doesn't really have to be a specific combo, specific cards. It could be a type of deck, like something super aggro, something super wide, control, whatever it may be. Just remember in this section that you want to build for the format that you're going to play in. So best of 3 or best of 1, draft, whatever it may be. Actually putting this into practice, this is actually part of the deck that I played for the Stage 0 Circuit Series, the weekly Circuit Series that you can see in the description below. But basically, because of the King Vegeta leader, it revolves around having, you know, looking in the top 5 for mono red Saiyans and the effect of burning every single turn with the Young Invaders. And what I wanted to do is play the Giant Force Piccolo, since it's searchable by the Vegeta, which is searchable by the leader, and then the Vegeta searches out the Heartfelt as well. And what I wanted to do is have the Giant Force Piccolo, which does get markers every time that you burn on their turn for the Young Invaders, and getting into 3 at a minimum on your turn, and then the turn 3 you play out the 3-drop Bardock that gives it 3 markers. You -6 for the Giant Force, and then you play out Fearless Pan to boost out the Bardock, and as well as play out another Vegeta if you killed it or got it killed, etc. And then awaken pretty early with the Vegeta effect into Heartfelt Plea. While this is not exactly what you need to do for your first deck, or for any deck that for that matter, this is just an example of what you could be doing or could be having in mind, and then building around that. So think about the cards that could search each other. Think about the things that could revolve around that engine, and think about the things that could support it and defend it if needed. The second tip is to include the staples and the things that are generally played within your leader or your color. For example, this could be Bean for blue, or the Baby Unison, God Sealing, whatever. Red could be Violent Rays, it could be Yamcha. And staples kind of change every set, so I can't really give you the set staples for every set or for whenever you're going to be watching this. A good way to check this is to check my channel. Of course, I do gameplay, I feature other people as far as deck profiles in the current format, and as well as other channels like Eggman's or Aspira's or even Crossbow TCG, whoever is going to be covering that content. I will also mention that there are community deck lists pretty much on every single website at this point, or at this time. Maybe by the time you watch this, Shenron's Lair might not be up anymore, but you can see the decks at the top right for the community deck list. You can filter out for the leader and as well as the card, and a couple other websites like DBS Decks, DBS Deck Planet, and as well as Apex Decks. They all have it in case you want to use that function. The other thing that I would do is to take a look at the cards and sort it by popularity. You can cover it by the color, and these are the ones that people, from the top to the bottom, these are the ones that people are frequently putting into their decks, and the percentage for that. The higher percentage, or the higher it is, the higher percentage, lower it is, etc. Right? The third tip is to keep ratios in mind. And what that means is basically, I actually think there's 3 major things when it comes to ratios. The first one is understanding the likelihood of seeing certain cards in your deck, depending on how many cards you have and how many cards you have in your deck. For example, if you have a 60 card deck, it's going to be a little bit different if you have a playset in that versus a 50 card deck and having 3 in your deck for that, like 3 of the same card, same deck. Honestly, someone will have to do the math for me. Eggman, if you're watching this, do them in the comments below if you can. But I usually stick to the quick and dirty guide of having basically a playset is a must-see card, so like a deck engine, turn 1 plays, things like that. Standard negates can be here as well. Three cards in the deck, or 3 copies of the deck, is basically important of the to the deck, but you don't necessarily need to see in the opening hand, but it is nice to see. 2 cards of or 2 copies of the card usually are win cons, things that you don't want to see in your opening hand, and things that you don't need like multiples on the field or need to play multiples in the turn. And then one ofs, you can kind of throw in one ofs if you don't need to see it, but it could come up, like let's say in a best of 1, things that you want to see less likely to see in the opening hand. Things like Fu Shrouded, or the 7 drop Android 17. One of the cool things about DBS Deck Planet is that you can actually see the percentage of your starting hand chance, basically. So pre-mulligan, this is this chance that you will see this given card depending on how many cards you have in deck. Obviously, you can minus the Young Invaders. This might be a new update they might have to put out, but you can see that, and as well as the ratio of types of cards, which is pretty important as well. And then in Apex, you can actually see the hand randomizer. Wow, I can't say that word. Randomizer. I'm just not going to say it. So you can probably run this a couple times to see how many times you would see a certain card in your opening hand as well. And that kind of brings us to the second thing when it comes to ratios, and that's basically mana curve. And what I mean by that, I guess that's more of a magic term, but that's how I learned it anyway. But basically, it is the amount of cards that you have for certain energy levels throughout the game. For example, if you want to play certain things on turn 1, you would need more 1-drops for turn 1. So the 1-cost cards and the 1-cost cards throughout the game, depending on how you play it. Like you can play like a skillless 1-drop engine, you'll have a lot of those. But if you just want to see more, you have to take that in account of the turn 1 plays and the 1-cost cards that you want to play. And then 2-cost cards for turn 2, whatever it may be. But you can take a look, like I said, on DBS Deck Planet and all these other sites where you can see the ratios of how many cards or to type of cards and the amount of energy you're playing, and reduce those depending on what you have, and maybe less of what you need. And it depends on your deck. So like if you're Dark Broly, like obviously you have all these 6 drops, but if you're Super Saiyan 3 Reboot, you might have all of these later cards, like turn 4 cards, turn 3 cards, turn 6 cards, that type of thing, because you're going to be ramping and having that higher amount of energy faster than others, and you want to play these other threats during the mid and late game. Last thing when it comes to ratios is just understanding how many 0.5s and 110s that you have. You probably don't want so many 110s in your hand, so probably reduce those versus the amount of 0.5s that you want in your hand as well, or in the deck. The last thing before we jump into a very surprise guide, or surprise type of guide, is the checklist. I usually have a checklist, or this is usually the checklist that I have before saying a deck is done. And the first thing is, do I have super combos? So that's a very easy one to forget. How many negates and counters do I have in the deck? Do I have a draw engine, or can I draw within the deck? What are my win cons? What are my defensive and offensive options? And am I going wide, tall, or maybe even both, or maybe even none? Because now we have another mill deck, so that's gonna be fun. Last thing I would like to talk about is becoming the testing master. What I mean by that is basically have a testing method for yourself, whether it is playing physical cards where you basically, you do your own mulligan, you shuffle however you want, and then play out the 6 cards, mulligan, put it out, and then just have a setup and seeing how your hand will look, and as well as what kind of plays you have. So that way you can kind of hand test, that's what is usually called, I feel like, and see what is good for you or what you need to take out, basically. Another thing is to get some testing partners. Just see what you can do at locals or over webcam. Obviously, if you join our Discord in the description below, there are plenty of people who play over webcam as well. But that brings me to, if you have no means of any of those things, that brings me to Untap. And I did a video way back when, as far as the guide, if you want a more in-depth guide for this, because this is kind of a quick and dirty one. But they have now updated their interface and updated a number of things since then, so this is probably a good way to do it. So the website is untap.in. Obviously, you can go ahead and sign up. You can watch untap.in. That is loud. Wow. And then make up a username, your email, password. Obviously, all of that is going to be needed, so that way you can actually save your decks and have a username, all that other stuff. But the cool thing about Untap is that it doesn't only support DBS, but it also supports other games like Digimon, Magic, things like that. And when you actually go into the game, you'll see it like this. or into the website to say, you see it like this. You'll see other ones like Fresh and Blood and Magic the Gathering, other games like that. But you can just filter it out. And when you actually do create an account, it'll be a little bit different from this, but obviously I'll have it to DBS. And then these two here can switch between play and watch too. At the top left, you can see how many players are online. They have a Discord as well. This is total players on the website itself. I am untapped as far as paying $5 a month. If anything, I just like it because I can have unlimited deck slots. Obviously, I have 525 here. It's been a while since I updated my decks on this, but oh well. And you also have a custom playmat, so you can have a custom background and all this other stuff. Top right, you can see basically you can change everything that you need to change as far as the profile picture. I need to change this one actually. And then sometimes there'll be an update under about, but pretty unimportant right now. What is important is that you want to start a game and as well as create a deck. So the first thing is creating a deck. When you make a deck, you can test it, testing deck, and create one for the game that you want. And basically how I usually do it is build it on a certain website first, like DBS Decks, Battlegrounds Layer, Deck Planet, whatever I want to, and then import it. So they have an import from URL, which you can do, or you can paste it after you download a text version as well. So for example, on DBS Deck Planet, you can use the top right button to go ahead and just click it, and then it'll import it automatically into your Untapped profile. As long as you're logged in first, you have to log in first and then go back here. So as you can see it at the top left here. The thing about it is that it will import the closest thing that it has for that title. What you want to do is probably just look up the actual leader. Usually the leaders are, and these are all, I think these are all imported by people. I do it sometimes as well. But you can see and hover over this or take a look at the official set number. That's probably the best way to do it. And then just double check that is the correct one. And then just drag it over to what you want. And usually what you can do is tap on it and then add to hand or life points, sideboard, whatever it may be, and then select an image. I don't think you really need to do that. And then if there's anything missing, like let's say Kai, like Supreme, I don't know how to spell Supreme Kai. Supreme kind of time Raveler. I don't know how to, I don't know her full name. That's the only issue for me when it comes to searching for cards. Oh, here it is. Space Time Unraveler. So Unraveler. There you go. And obviously I still have it here, but this is just an example of what you want to do. And then you can save it here, or you can have all of these other options. Like if you are untapped, you can change your sleeve and then download the deck into a text file as well. You can change the deck options here if you want to do a description, just depending on how neat you want to make it. I'm gonna go ahead and save it and then go into a new game. So when you hit the new game button, it will come up with the card game that you actually want to do. So obviously if you want to do DBS, you can just do that. The play styles are all here. I usually have relaxed just because I literally don't care who plays me or what I play or what they play. But if you want to be optimized or competitive, or if you're a beginner, it'll have those descriptions as well. And just make sure that you have in your title what you want to do. So when you go into the game, it'll load up all your decks. I don't really see mine, but the easier way to do it is just to just type it in. So King Vegeta, I already know the title for it, and then it will load it right up with your leader. Everything is sort of just like interactable, I would say. And the thing about Untapped for me are going to be the keybinds, and that's probably the first thing you want to learn. The keybinds are, I would say the hotkeys are all down here, the bottom left. The most important ones are going to be the things that usually interact within the game that you're playing. So for DBS, I would say D for drop area, warp, hands, top of deck, bottom deck, and then shuffle, I would say, are probably going to be the most important ones. And there's other ones that you can kind of basically get used to. These are all the global ones, and these are the hover ones. So like, let's say if you want to send to hand, you hover over the card, you press R, and it sends it to hand. So it just depends on what you want to do, like I said. The couple other things that I usually really like to kind of express is if you toggle to lobby, basically you can change your deck. Let's say I only want 3 Young Invaders of the Vegeta, which you probably want to do anyway. I like to go ahead and do that, scoop up or change deck. I usually just change it to, let's say, Vegex. RIP Vegex, if you're watching this. Okay, someone joined my game. That's what's up, dude. I guess this is a pretty good way to show what I can do as far as untap. So there's a chat box. I'm going to say hi, and I'm going to put out my leader here. And my man said hello. So a couple other things. So like the game menu, you can kind of see who the players are, who's playing, the history, the settings, things like that. These are all different settings, like the large preview size. You can change that if you want to snap to grid, which I kind of like anyway. This guy is new to game, so I'm unfortunately going to be making a guide here. So I'm sorry, Paul Step. We're gonna have to leave the lobby and finish and not explain ourselves at all. But I'm gonna go ahead and do that, so that way I can just make a new game. Like I was saying, you can go ahead and go into the lobby, update the deck, go back. And then basically what you want to do is just draw 6 here. You can just click on the thing, or you can draw 6 with the letter C 6 times if you really want to. The other way is pretty efficient to me. And what I usually like to do is take the cards that I don't want. So this one, I'm hovering over it and pressing T to put at the top deck. And then that's pretty much it, I would say. I could probably go with this guy as well. I press V to shuffle. And then the amount of cards that you want is to click to that and then click 4, or you can go ahead and use the number here. The draw 2 to put to life, you can click the number and press 8, and then it'll put to life as well. The other thing about it is that you can choose your life by dragging it out as well, and it'll reveal it. But if you want to shuffle it, you can click it and then shuffle and then draw to hand if you want to take a life, etc., and things like that. One thing I do want to change, and this is a good way to kind of show you what I was trying to do before, is to start the Young Invaders in my hand or on play as well. So I'm just going to drag it over here, save it, enter the game. I'm going to change the deck again back to Vegex, and then change it back to King Vegeta, and now your Young Invaders or the update is there. So I mean, pretty much that's what I would do. All these other things are pretty nifty as well. If you want to insert a token, you can look up all of these tokens here. I think there is one of my favorite tokens in here. I don't know if it's here. This one, yeah, that's my favorite token. So just making sure that you can play out tokens is pretty nice. There's alert response and no response in case you have no negate or you have alert. You can untap all. So let's say if you want to play a few cards here, you have your energy, you can tap on it, invert it, and then tap it down by double clicking. You can play it out here. Let's say you attack, and then when it goes your turn, you can untap all as well. If you want to look at your deck, you can find card here. If you want to look at the bottom of your deck after I shuffle here, you can go to more and then expand deck, and then go all the way to the right, and then get the last card here, which apparently is my secret. Wow, that's unlucky. And then we go ahead and shuffle. And then if you want to peep, you can look at the top 5. So that way you can do that, or you can look at the top 7 as well. Or you can go ahead and look at the top 10 by typing. You have a lot of options in order to look for certain things within your deck. Honestly, that is pretty much it. If you want to spectate someone, obviously you can go ahead and spectate on the watch and then just hit the spectate button. It'll take you right into the game and kind of see what everybody's playing. This guy is playing the new Sin Shenron, which looks pretty fun, honestly. That's an interesting match, if anything. But that's pretty much it. If you have seen my previous Untap video, watch that if you want more things to go over. I mean, those are pretty much the same sort of methods and the things that you want to do for Untap. Hopefully, as I change back here, this helped you as far as your deck building journey goes. Let me know in the comments below what you think, what you liked, what you didn't like, whatever it may be. I'll see you in the next one.